Good morning. Okay, friends, this is a couple of days late, and I'm sorry about that. And I was in a quandary what I was going to do as far as a devotional video for this time for this week. And I said I promised you something special, so that you had to wait. Well, this is our, I suppose you might say, annual tour of the garden. And so this is what we're going to uh, do today here. But let me just begin then. I'm Mark Kolbo, pastor of the Michigan Lutheran Church of Michigan, North Dakota. This is our midweek and get now to the end of the week devotional video. It was supposed to be on the, what day was that? The 12th. But it is now the 14th of July, 2023. I should stop putting the years in there so that I could use these again as reruns and you wouldn't know what year. But I'm transparent. I'm not going to deceive you here. So we begin in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. I'm trying to think here where I was at here. Oh, yes. This is one of the messianic promises, and this from the book of the prophet Jeremiah. For thus says the Lord, sing aloud with gladness for Jacob, and raise shouts to the chief of nations. Proclaim, give praise, and say, the Lord has saved his people, the remnant of Israel. Behold, I will bring them from the north country, and gather them from the furthest parts of the earth. Among them the blind and the lame, the woman with child, and her who is travail together. A great company they shall return here. With weeping they shall come, and with consolations I will lead them back. I will make them walk by brooks of water, in a straight path in which they shall not stumble. For I am a father to Israel, and Ephraim is my firstborn. Hear the word of the Lord, O nations, and declare it to the coastlands far away. And say, he who scattered Israel will gather him, and I will keep him as a shepherd keeps his flock. For the Lord has ransomed Jacob, and he has redeemed him from hands too strong for him. They shall come and sing aloud on the height of Zion. They shall be radiant over the goodness of the Lord, over the grain, the wine, and the oil, and over the young of the flock and the herd. Their life shall be like a watered garden, and they shall languish no more. And so here we begin. And I want you to, I'm going to turn the camera around here so I can see what I'm shooting. You're looking at me not in my clerical garb, but in my gardening garb. This is the garden, or I should say gardens. And I'll explain in just a minute, but you won't see this face for a little while. I hope I can turn it around. Maybe not. Oh, okay. I'm not sure about these things. I thought there was a thing to click. Okay. I probably will have to link this and the other video up. Here's our shed, of course. Right now it's got our windows for the house that we're getting put in this year, hopefully. Now we'll begin here in this, what I call the orchard. I planted 7 apple trees here of various kinds. And they're semi-dwarf, so they look like they're kind of close together, but they should be just fine at the distances they are. Two of them are Honeycrisp. Two are called Wine Crisp, kind of a descendant of the Honeycrisp. Two little ones in the front are kind of a strange thing, and they may not be dwarf, even though they're the smallest. The two little ones there in the front are Red Delicious, and I think that for some reason the they're grafts, these fruit trees you get, and maybe the original tree, which I don't know what it would be, that was apple was grafted onto, that might have taken over in both cases because the leaves are different. So we'll see what comes up in the long run, but they're not dwarf. Anyway, then this little one in the middle is the only one this year that so far has apples on it. And I'll get a close-up here. You can see the first ones coming right there. And they're called Lodi, and they turn out to be yellow, a nice yellow, and they're sweet and a little bit on the soft side. And they're the ones that bore the most apples last year. The little one on this far side, one of the Wine Crisp, bore apples last year, but I do not see any. That's the trouble this year. All these trees are so leafy, but they're not bearing yet, or at all. I don't know. It might take time, but I'm going to have to learn. I'm in the process of learning about pruning, how to prune so they effectively bear fruit. Let's see. There's a couple. Oh, there's one back there too on this Lodi. Beautiful. Okay, I said gardens. I have 3 plots. And this is the largest one here. And it was just this one little section to this side, but I added this year the section of corn where I put the corn. I used to put the corn in a row right along where this looks like a fence line. It is a trellis for the cucumbers and peas. But I put the corn, as you see, in this annex, or this addition to the whole long big garden. And it is, I don't know, they're not growing so high yet, but they're tasseling out, and there's a lot of ears with hair. And I don't know how much higher they're going to get. I'm wondering if they weren't stunted because of the condition. I could not till all the way down, so I dug like post holes, but larger, like you were going to transplant a tree in there, and dug them out and put soil in and planted them in that. They may not have got the roots that the corn usually has, so maybe they are finishing early. I'm not sure. I'll have to wait and see what that is all about. But let's just take a quick look here in this garden. This garden needs water, but that's the thing. This year it began so hot and dry after we planted that a lot of things died off actually. And as you can see where I have little stakes, I have the well, this section right there with the stakes is peppers, the 2 rows in front of me here. This row is supposed to be beans. Last year I had a fantastic bean crop of Blue Lake bush beans. But these, I started some from seedlings, some from plants I bought downtown when they died off. Because when I put them in, I put all the seedlings in, it was like hot and dry for several days, and a lot of things did die off. In fact, if you look, here's the cucumbers. Those I think are supposed to be, I don't know if those are to be the pickling cucumbers or the slicing. I think those are the pickling cucumbers, because I picked some and they were like pickle size. And then the ones, these two here, are like longer. And I think they are more like the slicing size where you let them grow. And they climb. See, I just something learned about cucumbers. I want them all to climb, and I'm not having very good luck getting these to climb, but they're supposed to be more bushy, I guess, and the vines along the ground. But I'll try to keep getting them to climb. But the two here are the slicing ones. They're climbing with no trouble. But there were others that I was planted. You can see a small one there. But along here there's a lot more that are not growing. Oh, here's another one I think that's growing. Okay, but there's a bunch of them that died off in the middle. Maybe they're just late, and maybe those are weeds. Sometimes I'm finding it hard to discern the weeds from the plant, and that's, you know, another story from the Bible about the wheat and the weeds. But here are the lone survivors. Or were these some that I also planted from plants from downtown? But I'm getting some peas, enough maybe for a stir fry sometime soon. I should pick them and then use them soon for a stir fry. Wife is not too big on peas from the pod and eating. I mean, she'll eat the ones right from the pod, but not the ones, you know, processed. Anyway, what survive here are 2 eggplants. As you can see, it's time now for me to weed, and I've been keeping up pretty good. As you can see, there are bare spots. But I was really going after the garden in the first few weeks. And there are now, but these weeds come back and they are so pernicious. But here, now as I say, these 2 rows of peppers. And we got some nice one here coming. And would you know it? I don't know if these are supposed to be the red peppers or just some kind of green peppers. I think they're supposed to be red peppers. Oh yes, the little sign down there that you buy with the, I don't know if you can see that, but that shows a red there. It's supposed to be red peppers. How come they're green? So much. You see, the thing about gardening in me is I'm learning. And I'm taking years here to learn, and I'm trying to discern which, what to do. Now, the first ones of watermelons that I've had in the past did not do well, and then animals attacked them, and they were not in an enclosure like this. Hopefully these are safe. Now I got to lift up these vines. See, you can see the watermelon. And move them before I till up these weeds. There's another good one there. But I got to get these moved away here so I can till out the weeds. But there are 5 plants, and that's the longest and the biggest one. In fact, it goes this way too. So hopefully we'll have some more. Hopefully we'll have watermelons that will last. I'll see. We'll go by the eggplant here again. Here's another one of our watermelons, and you see there are not so many weeds right here. Oh, good. I think we'll have pretty good watermelons. So across the back end of the garden, all the rows go this way. except the watermelons are across the end here of the garden. I had this space. I ended the rows early and I had this space, and I thought, yep, here's the watermelon patch. Except for this. You see what this is? And you can put a cage around to protect it and help it grow. I have several rows, and I'll show you those in just a minute, of tomatoes. These I did not plant this year. You know, I had bushy tomatoes right here last year, and I tried to get most of them, but I'm sure some of them had fallen off and broke open and left seeds in the soil. These are volunteers. Isn't that wonderful? It's like bonus vegetation. And of course, you know, bonus vegetation is often called weeds, but in this case they're coming to bloom, and we'll get some fruit off that, I think. But then they're just like, that one is just like these here, this long row. And this is the most successful part of the garden, is the tomatoes. I didn't do too well with the tomatoes, except for those, some of them that were in that row where they volunteered. But all the way down here to the end of the garden is, on the left side, this row, beefsteaks, big tomatoes. And this row, Roma tomatoes, a little bit smaller, or oval, good for sauces and pasta and stuff. And over on this side, I think there's supposed to be, oh, there are some more Romas, I think. And then these here, and there was supposed to be a number of these, and they're getting away from me. What I've got to do, not only on this one, but also on these, I've got to tie them up so that as they grow, they don't lay over like the ones in that other row did last year. I'm going to tie these up, but you see all the blossoms. These are supposed to be called tomatillos. And I guess they bear green fruit. Good for what they use for green salsa, or salsa verde, as they call it. Some of these, you know, because I say I'm learning, I don't know, I couldn't tell whether the leaves on these were tomatillos or whether these were weeds. And I'm pretty sure most of these here are weeds. But that's why I say, some died out quite early. And so I'm very thankful. In fact, I wonder if this one here is not a tomatillo. But like I say, I'm not sure. I could pull it, or I could leave it and cage it up and let it grow. I would think it's a tomatillo, but then off that row is one that looks very identical. So here I'm thinking maybe they are, and over there, some more of the same. So I'm thinking they're probably just weeds. The wheat and the weeds, as they say. But I didn't cage these up like the other ones with the round cages. I put strung out a cage, and maybe I'll leave it like this, or put some sort of string across to help it stay up as it grows further. But I'm having good and high hopes here for all these tomatoes, because we like pasta and we like spaghetti sauce and all the things you can use to make with it, casseroles and Italian foods. The peppers are different kinds. Over there, as I showed you, were red. Supposed to be red peppers. Over in this rest of this row is supposed to be some hot peppers, but as you can see, weeds really get in there because these peppers grow slow. These ones here, I had a number of rows last year of Greek peppers, or peperoncini. and they did very well. And these three here are the ones surviving from the heat, and they too, I think, are just flowering. They too will grow very well. And then I forget what these are supposed to be, kind of a mixed bag of hot peppers, I think. But they're not doing too badly either, considering. So, here's the big garden. Tomatoes, peppers, watermelon, cucumber, peas, and the corn. The little corn. I don't think these are the kind of corn that they put in the Chinese food, the tiny little cobs. But you never know. They look like they've got to fill out. Maybe that's the process here that'll take the next several weeks. And then maybe they'll grow, but I gotta get some water in here. I've got, see, the water all comes from the house over there. So I've got, I don't know, a couple hundred more feet maybe of hoses bringing water over from the outside faucet over there. And I'm just lucky that there's enough pressure to put a sprinkler in here and get that going. I should put a drip irrigation system, but like I want to do, you know, every year I want to take everything up and then till it up, open up the end of the garden and just bring a tiller in, and pole tiller, if I can get that going again, and till it up. I'll have to do that over there, try to get that with the pole behind tiller. But these hoses have these junctures, and I gotta keep running around turning the right one on as I can. Okay, so moving along to our second patch, but before you get there, this is a apple again. It's called the frostbite apple, and it was developed at the University of Minnesota, and it's supposed to be kind of a sweet reddish red fruit, and very good. I don't know if it'll bear. I just put it in the end of last year, and it may be a couple years yet. Looking down this middle lane here, I don't know what they had on these empty lots, whether they had a trailer house or whether this was a driveway for something. But it's pretty rocky in the middle here. But on either side you see these two trees are plum trees. I tried planting a lot of fruit trees, and these are plum trees. They're on the edge of what was maybe a road or a driveway, and so they're kind of leaning. I'm trying to stake them up and straighten them out. Here's the second patch. Squash and pumpkins. I'll step back a little bit so you can see. Trouble with all these hoses is that when I want to mow, I have to run around and either move or just mow around. And as you can see, yesterday I mowed around. But this is the squash and pumpkin patch, and it was a little bit slow going to start, but now it's really bursting out. And as you can see, the tendrils of the vines are reaching out across, and that's great. And then, you know, the vine is used a lot in Scripture. I am the vine and you are the branches, Jesus said. And so these on the left hand are winter squash of the acorn variety. A little bit slower going, but if I remember right, when I did finally get to looking, and they were hiding under. The trouble with I find with the squash and the pumpkins, that they had such huge leaves, and they hide everything. They hide the blossoms from the bees. I don't know why they would want to do that. And they hide the fruit, you know, the vegetable. Yeah. So you got to keep looking. Now what I've done this year, like I said, I really went in and was weeding. I didn't have to weed this one too much. I was able to kill most of it. off, but uh, the other labor-intensive thing with the gardening on these, where I actually got down and pruned a lot. And even though it looks very bushy, and because they got such big leaves, you can hardly tell. But I got in there and pulled a lot of weeds out. Not weeds, but leaves. Cut a lot of leaves off. So what you got to do is you got to leave for the bees to get in there and the air to get in there. I should probably do some more because you can hardly see. Now these here is kind of a more recent one to come along. I don't see any fruit yet because I haven't seen any blossoms. There are blossoms coming. I'm amazed at these vines, and I had to keep directing these vines inward so they would reach out across at each other. But acorn squash on this side, butternut squash on the first half of this row. So we look forward to that variation. And I'll tell you, I'm the only one in the house that likes the squash. So, oh, and there's a bee going into that blossom right there, that one in the middle. And that's what I love to see. That's why I open things up. And as you can see from here, you can see some of the blossoms. Really get in there and I can move things across, you can see. Now, those butternut squash go from right about here to the end. They're a winter squash as well. But from here to that end, it's just that corner, are pumpkins. And you see, it's huge, beautiful blossom. That's why I wanted to bring you out this morning. There goes a little bee. Yay. That's the trouble. My neighbor keeps telling me about not so much fruit on these trees or things coming in the garden because we don't have enough bees around anymore. So you dig under and you look, you can see blossoms. And there's some that are blossoms that are coming, but I could go in and cut off some of these. Oh, and there you go. Which one is this? I think that's a squash. And that there, the pumpkin. And not orange yet, of course. But the blossom falls off and the fruit is what comes up. I don't know what happened here, but I should cut that off. I don't have my nippers with me right now. I try to take off what are dead vegetation. In fact, this whole vine might need to come. I'm not sure what's up with this one. How about that? I dropped my camera. Alright. Take off maybe the dead one that might be diseased. No, there you go. It detached itself. Okay, I don't know why it died, why it's sickly, but there's that. So here you get a little bit better idea. There's a pumpkin in formation there. Ooh, beautiful. Look at that one. When you get in there, you can see all the blossoms. We're going to have good pumpkins this year. We had good pumpkins last year, and they were in a patch was squash. And there were so many. Okay, so that's the squash and pumpkin patch. The plum trees in the background. Over here is the third lot, the north side of the garage, and it gets shaded quite a bit actually. As the day progresses, you will see the shadow creeping across as the sun traverses behind me here. And so what I planted here on these row with the green stakes on the end here, over here, those are bean plants I bought. I bought extra, and they're not doing well at all. I don't think it's the shade. I think it's, again, dryness. They just aren't surviving the transplanting. A couple of rows here, and last night I started doing some of the tilling of weeds in between. Kind of hard when their tops lean over and lay on the ground, but a couple of rows of onions. And they're not doing too badly either. They could all use more water. Here is a row of potatoes with the long stakes. I did, as they said in the videos, to go through and clip off the flowers as they come, so that the plant would channel more energy into the root, because that's what you want to grow, is the roots, the potatoes, the tubers. And those were from sets. Actually, maybe a few were from a cut. I had a bunch in bags that were ready to be cut and planted, but I don't know. I got too late and had other things go on. I didn't put them in, so I tossed them away. But if you can get them in a timely fashion, you can use the ones from your pantry if you're not big potato eaters. And then here's a row of carrots. Now, this experiment, because I would like to leave the growing of carrots in the boxes by the house there to my wife. But I thought, oh, I'll try this. And I ordered some tape seeds, the seed tape, a couple of them. And that's what the top 2/3 of this row are, the seed tapes. And see how they turn out. That way you don't have to thin them out, they're spaced apart. And they hold and contain the thing. Now the trouble is, as with everything else in this garden, is that there are weeds, and I've got weeds in between those, so you can't really see. But they're not doing too badly. And I go through and I'll take out weeds. I've done it in the past, and I'll do it some more. You got thistles, and these patches are just not as clean of weeds as that one patch by the garage with the squash and pumpkins. I don't know why. But the last third of this row are seeds from a packet that I had, and as you can see, they're pretty thick, but they're growing better even than the seed tape. I'm not sure why that is. Maybe the tape held it back. So, okay, on this row are some more squash, but these are, of course, summer squash. And these are zucchinis. And I've already got a couple in the house from this patch. And there's another one coming right there. And another one coming right there. Lots of blossom. And they're very prolific. There's another one right there. So we're having bounty here. We're going to do well. Anyway, and these are now summer squash. I saw an ad, more of a yellow squash. And I don't see any fruit yet. But I do see blossoms, and I do see them, I don't know, blossoms coming, I guess, not really succeeding yet, but they were from an ad I saw online about a special variety, and I thought, oh, let's give it a try. Little Simula squash, there's a beautiful blossom there. Yeah, see? Right there. So hopefully they'll come along and they'll be able to report back. But there again, these are vines on this one. What I like about the zucchini, they're fairly contained. They don't spread out. But these are vines like the other squash and pumpkins. And I like this view here because you can go and look at all three plots. Just step around the corner of the neighbor's plot here, and we can see all three plots in a row. Past the garage is the biggest one, and the one right by the garage is the smaller one, and then this one in the middle. I think it's the smaller one. It only has 2 crops. Okay, and this is not the end of our bounty. And I don't know if I'm running real long on this video. I hope you're still with me. Got to go around the brush pile here. I got to get this picked up and burnt. The second orchard. I'm going to count the plum trees in the background there as part of this orchard. But on the middle here, these 2 big ones are sweet 16 apples. And I don't know if you had those, but they have a dark red, well, maybe not so dark, but thoroughly red skin, but thick. If you're going to use one of those hand spiral cutters on the thing, it's a challenge because they are thick. The meat, the fruit inside is really, really white, and it is sweet, but the thing is, skin is really thick and hard to cut. There's a gala apple, and that small one, I don't know if that's even alive anymore. Let's go up and take a look at it. And these 2 last trees here on this side are pear trees. And one of them, the furthest one, has leaves and doing well, but no pears. All of these trees had blossoms aplenty this year, but the bees weren't around. I don't know why. Anyway, this first one here was one of those pear trees that were growing, but it never leaved. So I think it's dead. I should maybe replace it. And then this is the other pear tree here. So making sure that we got something going on here. I think the neighbor wants to stop and talk. Oh, nope, he's moving on. Here's that gala apple. Now we got the branches toward the bottom, and I wonder if that's another situation where that's a graft. Could be. So I'll leave it in and leave it grow, whereas I might take the other pear tree out. But I might have to cut the top part of this off because it's pretty much dead. And this is the very last part of the gardens. And this is the vineyard. Yeah, a grand, glorious term. And the vineyard comes up quite often in the Bible. So, that's a thing. But I've had some mixed luck. This year I've had gone in not so much with spray, but weed whacking, or a cultivator, but a weed whacker to get the weeds down so you can see. Some of these are plants that have come back from previous plantings. I planted 8 in the beginning, and then it seemed like half. In fact, before this year, I thought only 2 of them survived. This one here and this one in the corner. But as it happens, okay, so I have planted 4 I bought this year. But look at here. There's a survivor from previous years, and it's coming back. So I'm always happy to see someone making a comeback. And even on this one, and maybe when I weed whacked, I cut it, but there was another shoot, I think, that was coming back in another part there that I think I killed it. Sorry about that. And then I did not replace the one. So there are 7 here. And what I'm going to do this weekend is I'm going to string, and I'll do that with poles in these taller poles. I'm going to string a rubber coated cable, like a wash cable or something, from pole to pole all the way to the end in 2 rows. Because this is going to need a trellis. They already do over here on this one. This one needs a trellis to climb on. As you can see, I folded this one over, but I tied this one up right. But as you can see, they're going to need a trellis. Tie that to the cable. So hopefully I can get those to survive and then produce fruit in the first years. When all these grow up and get big and magnificent, I hope, it'll be a very nice space. Maybe a contemplative space. Pull some chairs out here and just sit around and meditate and think. But this is my joy this year. One of these. Here's the thing, too. We had so many pumpkins last year, we ended up throwing some. And here's a little pile where we dumped the remains. And wouldn't you know it, you talk about volunteers.